Hello there and welcome back to the Elegant Dev Show. I am the Elegant Dev and today we'll be talking about improving team performance and what makes or breaks a great team. As always, I'll be talking about my experience as a software engineer, but I will do my best to highlight the ideas and concepts which extend beyond it. But enough chit-chat, let's get into the video, shall we? One of the major causes of horrible performance in software engineering teams is the widespread lack of objective evaluation when it comes to what makes teams more coherent and increases their velocity, which is just a fancy word for productivity. Now, let's be honest, we often implement the latest buzzword or jump on the trend bandwagon without too much thinking about the consequences that might have for our project. And I do realize that's not something exclusive to our industry, because the performance of any team is the product of complex, interlinked systems made up of best practices, habits, processes, and ideas. And the balance of those ingredients will be different from one team to the next. A lot of thinking and tinkering is required to find the best formula for your team. And therein lies the problem. As you've probably already guessed, it's actually quite difficult to find the right balance. But there are at least some things we can do to avoid making a complete and utter mess of the situation. At the top of my not too comprehensive list is the general inclination to choke the motivation out of your team members by drowning everyone in too much process, having far too many meetings, and just generally being a micromanaging tyrant who only cares about squeezing out as much productivity out of your people as possible in as little time as possible. Now, it might sound counterintuitive that we need to ease off a bit and slow down in order to go faster, but as it turns out, that's actually the right thing to do. But I for one think that the overbearing tyrant trend has been on the decline lately, and that's actually good, because everyone hates being interrupted to be asked about their progress every 15 minutes or so, and everyone knows it by now. Now, the other side of that coin is to actually give free rein to everyone, and that's actually an equally terrible idea. Let's take a moment to consider why that's the case, shall we? In my opinion, going for the complete hands-off approach is usually a mistake, if only for the simple reason that we all need at least some structure to achieve anything. Undirected effort is just plain foolish. But, and you might notice a trend here, that just means we should strive for a balanced approach. We know that we need at least some meetings, but not too many of them. After all, if you have hired great people, you need to actually believe in them and believe that they will rise to the occasion, and let them. Now allow me to go over a couple of rules I've discovered in my career so far. Rule number 1. Don't try to do everything yourself, because you will most surely fail. Rule number 2. Believe in your team and they will believe in you. Rule number 3. Never keep the most challenging problems for yourself. Let others learn and grow. Rule number 4, and I have said this one before, but lead by example, because you cannot raise the bar if you don't do the actual work. And finally, rule number 5. At the end of the day, we're all just human. You will do well to remember that. And that's it, that's all I know. These are my 5 rules and I think we can just end the video here. But of course we won't. The good thing is, applying these 5 rules is not that complicated, although it's never easy, admittedly, so go for it. Now, talking about leadership is all well and good, but what can you do if you're not a manager or a leader or don't really want to be one? Well, I for one believe that a fancy title does not a leader make. Leadership can come from any position in the pecking order, it can come in all shapes and sizes, and there is always a lot of work to do. As a mid-level software engineer, for example, you could find out what slows you down the most and focus on fixing that. Early on in your career, it may be lack of knowledge and experience, and you know how to solve that problem, even if it isn't always easy. Of course, the challenges evolve as we level up. Teams become larger, projects become more complex, responsibilities increase. And as a senior software engineer, you might find issues with the process that your team is using. But you are a vital part of that process and you really should be thinking of ways to improve it. So next time something bothers you about it, speak up, start a conversation with your team and fix it. Now keep in mind that the exact opposite can also be the case. Your inability or unwillingness to adapt to the process might be the problem. And believe me, I know all about that. But jokes aside, the best habit you can develop, whatever your position in the pecking order might be, is to seek meaningful feedback and to provide it to other members of your team, and to do so as often as possible. Now, there is a very widespread idea in our industry that there is some incessant conflict between engineers and managers, and this, I believe, is not always the case, just most of the time. But let's get serious for a minute, shall we? The best managers I know are the people who have done the actual work, who are leading teams rather than bossing them around, and we all know the difference between the two, don't we? The great ones, and I think this is something we should all aspire to be, they really do see the bigger picture, if I may call it that, and they try to help each and every member of the team see it as well. Because that picture is actually made up of numerous smaller ones. And it's up to us, collectively as a team, to make each individual brushstroke, if I may extend the metaphor. To enforce best practices, to pick the best possible tools for the job, and to deal with the consequences of our inevitable mistakes. We all make them. What I'm trying to say is that only together can we find the best path forward. And as a leader, a vital part of your role is to remind your team of that each and every day. But also to remember to stay elegant, exceptional, and extremely professional. Thanks for watching.